All right, good morning, Harbor. Thank you for being here. We are in Lent. It is the fifth Sunday in Lent, and we're going to continue with our sermon series. Tell me something good. Oh, where's our graphics? There they are. So during Lent, we have heard the good news. We have seen the good news in the form of radical hospitality. We remember the woman who cleaned the feet of Jesus with her tears and with her hair. We remember the good news of the feeding of the 5,000 with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. People came together and shared, and they were able to feed all of them. And it reminds me of Rhoda's story. I don't know if we have some Bible study folks here. Do you know what story I'm going to talk about with Rhoda? With the where she's teaching Bible study when she was younger, and this little girl stands up. It's simple how they fed the 5,000. They just shared. It's like, yes, the wisdom of little ones. It's easy when we share. We can take care of a lot of people. Also heard the good news of protection and care for the vulnerable. We heard the story of Jesus welcoming the children to the center, even though that was not the tradition, bringing the marginalized again to the center of community. And this week we're going to continue with our good news. We're going to see Jesus showing mercy and grace to a condemned woman. So this week we're going to be in the book of John. It's going to be John chapter 8, 2 to 11. Early in the morning, he came again to the temple. All the people came to him, and he sat down and began to teach them. The scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in adultery, and making her stand before all of them, they said to him, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the very act of committing adultery. Now in the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. Now what do you say?" They said this to test him so that they might have some charge to bring against him. Jesus bent down and wrote with his finger on the ground. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, "Let anyone among you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." And once again, he bent down and wrote on the ground. When they heard it, they went away one by one, beginning with the elders. And Jesus was left alone with the woman standing before him. Jesus straightened up and said to her, "Woman, where are they now? Has no one condemned you?" She said, "No one, sir." And Jesus said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go your way, and from now on, do not sin again." I think this line is amazing. Let anyone among you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her. Man, that shuts everybody down real quick, right? It reminds me of Jesus, Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapter 7. Judge not, that ye be not judged. We see Jesus asking for mercy, not by defending the woman or her actions, but rather by turning the mirror on the scribes and the Pharisees that are quick to judge and condemn her. Again, let any one among you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her. At least for me personally, and I think this is true, mercy can be seeing yourself in others, kind of walking a mile in their shoes, so to speak. Because people make all kinds of decisions, and it doesn't make sense unless you know their context, where they're coming from, their situation. And then maybe there is a little more understanding and perhaps mercy as well. Because we see the woman accused of adultery, and we know nothing about this woman. We don't know her situation at all. Maybe she was the victim of a sexual assault by a man and caught in the middle. And she's condemned, and imagine the guy just walked. Or maybe she's in an unhappy marriage or an abusive marriage. Or maybe she loves somebody besides her husband. Or maybe she just made a mistake. Jesus doesn't care. It doesn't matter to Jesus. Jesus never asked the woman a question about any of these accusations. Jesus didn't ask any of the accusers about the accusations. Perhaps he already knew. He is Jesus, by the way. And I always think this is interesting as an aside that Jesus is kind of kneeling down in the dirt and writing on the ground with his finger as he's being set up by these Pharisees and scribes. And I always wondered, what is he writing on the ground? One of these mysteries of the Bible. They give you a little piece, but then they don't fill in the rest. So we just have to wonder. And we see these scribes and these Pharisees testing and trying to trap or trick Jesus. And we don't see Jesus seeking retribution or revenge on those who wish to do him harm, because they're trying to get him to break the law so that they can bring charges against him. So Jesus not only shows mercy to the woman accused, he's showing mercy to the ones that brought the accusations in the first place. And it's entirely possible that neither the woman or those that accused her deserve any mercy at all. And that's what's so beautiful about mercy in the first place, is it's not earned. It is freely granted and given. And that's going to bring us to this week's reflection question. And I know we have some guests here, so don't freak out. So every week we have a reflection question in the middle of our sermon, and we'll take a minute to just ponder this, and if anybody wants to share, they are welcome to. But let's go ahead and put the question, Eric. And we talked about mercy. When have you experienced the good news of mercy? So you could be the one receiving the mercy, providing the mercy, or you simply witnessed mercy. But when have you experienced the good news of mercy? Someone ask us all to close our eyes, plant our feet firmly on the ground. Let's start breathing in through the nose and exhaling out the mouth. And see what comes. If there are any images, any thoughts, any memories. When have you experienced the good news of mercy? So let's take 20, 30 seconds of silence and think on this topic of mercy, and then we will come back. Thanks, Nick. I appreciate that. What I want to say about mercy is, like, it's always available, but we have to step forward and take it. You know? The fact that it was there, you had to do the work. Everybody here that was shown mercy had to do the work, right? So thank you for being honest and vulnerable, and thank you, Azalea, for bringing you in the door. Excellent. All right, we've got to put her to work, send her out in the streets. There you go, exactly. Anybody else? Online, Eric, anybody? All right, going once, going twice? All right, thank you guys for sharing. I love it. Thank you for the vulnerability. You guys were really speaking truth from the heart, so I appreciate that, and I can feel that, and I hope everybody else can feel that, and that's what we're doing here, right? And when we think of mercy, we often think of it in the context of a law broken or a rule being broken, and that there has to be somebody being punished. A debt has to be paid. But what if the laws themselves are unfair? Or the punishment drastically exceeds the quote-unquote crime? We see Jesus challenge the law when he believed it unfair or unjust. We have countless examples in the Bible about this. We see Jesus feeding people on the Sabbath, picking grain on the Sabbath, healing on the Sabbath, all technically against the law. But Jesus doesn't want people to go hungry. He doesn't want people to go and continue to suffer. So he acts against the law. And then Jesus said this, I didn't come to abolish the law, but to fulfill the law. And we see Jesus reinterpreting the law to serve the people, to promote human flourishing, not as a way to punish or control, but as a way to serve the broader community. And the truth is, there were laws back then and there are laws right now that are designed to hurt those people on the margins. Right? If you are on the margins, often the law is not on your side. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote famously in his letter from Birmingham jail about these types of laws. Laws meant to keep people down instead of lifting people up. And I'll quote Martin Luther King here. He said, "There are two types of laws. There are just laws and there are unjust laws. Any law that uplifts human personality is just. Any law that degrades human personality is unjust." It seems very simple, right? Is the law helping people or is it hurting people? Just laws and unjust laws. Either we're uplifting human personality or we're degrading human personality. And in the second scripture this morning, we're going to talk about how Jesus views the law and thinks about the law and what role mercy has to play when we're talking about the law. So this time we're going to be in Matthew chapter 23. "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you tithe mint, dill, and cumin, and have neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice and mercy and faith. It is these you ought to have practiced without neglecting the others." Short and sweet. Scribes and Pharisees have neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faith. And then we see Jesus calling the religious leaders hypocrites. So why is he calling them hypocrites? Because those with power twisted the law to protect themselves and their status, not to promote community flourishing. Mercy, justice, and faith should be at the heart of every rule or law, period. But it should also be at the heart of every interaction or relationship that we have in this world. Mercy, justice, and faith should be at the heart of all we do as disciples of Jesus. And we should start asking ourselves these questions as we're making decisions in the world. Do our actions promote human flourishing? Or am I just doing this for me? Do we practice mercy? Or do we seek revenge and retribution? This one's for me more than anybody. Okay. Is judgment keeping us from human connection and developing a deeper understanding? That's my cross to bear. I am good at judging people, but I need to put that down because it's keeping me from developing that relationship. The good news is rooted in justice, mercy, and faithfulness. And as we continue to walk in the way of Jesus as his disciples, let us not forget the good news of mercy, of faithfulness, and of justice. As I invite the praise team forward, I'll finish with this. God's justice does not align with our human understanding of justice and punishment. Let me say that again. God's justice does not align with our human understanding of justice and punishment. God's justice is the delight of the lost sheep coming home. God's justice is the delight of finding the lost coin. The good news is not in retribution. The good news is that God's mercy practiced through us as the hands and feet. We have to do this. God's mercy increases human flourishing by welcoming those back to community who have lost their way. So as we continue to walk as disciples in this world, let us be that light that people bring themselves close to. I'm thinking about Azalea and you, Nick. You followed her because she's a bright light. Let us all be those bright lights in the world as we continue to build the kingdom here and now. May it be so. Amen.